feel like I'm looking down the barrel of a gun right now. I don't really like talking about this, not because I'm sad about what happened, but I don't want to tell my story and then people treat me differently because of it. Like they're extra nice to me, like I'm damaged goods or something. But this is my story at the moment that changed my life. Growing up, I had the perfect childhood. No complaints whatsoever. Loving father, loving mother. I had everything I could ever want, and then some. And, grew up in Dallas and moved to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and my dad, he always had an intense love for motorcycles, so we loved, and I love them to this day, and always grew up riding them, watching them. We came to be big fans of MotoGP. We'd sit down and watch MotoGP races, like some family sat down and watched, like football or basketball, and came to love MotoGP. And of course, if you know MotoGP, you know Valentino Rossi, the best in the world, my hero. And so that was always our thing. My dad and I would watch the MotoGP races, and my dad, he always had such a zest for life, and a very smart guy, wonderful. He's a daredevil. He was an adrenaline junkie for sure, and always out for that thrill. And June 16th, 2007, I was 15 years old. It's just a normal day. I was sitting in my room at my desk, talking to my mom. My dad had gone out. He was a pilot, so he'd be gone for 5 days and then be home for 5 days. And his routine, he loved to get up in the morning at like 6 a.m. and go on a motorcycle ride before it got hot. And so that day, it's around like 2 o'clock. I was just sitting at my desk talking to my mom, and we heard a knock at the door, and my mom went to answer the door, and I heard this horrible scream, and I knew immediately what happened. You didn't have to tell me, but the state trooper came in, and he sat me down and said, "Your dad is he's been killed in a motorcycle accident out in Newton County. He's going too fast, of course, like the adrenaline junkie that he was, and he went around a turn and just way too fast, I'm sure, lost control, slid into a guardrail, breaking his neck and killing him immediately." And the state trooper came in and explained this, and I didn't believe it. Like, I thought it was a joke. My brain was like, no, not happening. And I turned white as a ghost and started shaking so violently. Like, I've never shook like that in my life. And like, I was in such a state of shock. I couldn't even cry. I cry more about it now than I did then. And he came in, he asked, I feel so bad for him. Like, what a terrible, job task to have to bring that kind of news to somebody. And he just said, what can I do? What can I do? And my mom, she called my Uncle Mark, my dad's brother, told him what happened. He said, the only thing he said was, I'm on my way. I'll never forget that. That's love. That's loyalty. Like, say nothing. And there, he was there. He drove from Dallas. He was there in like 4 hours. And then my mom had to call my dad's mom. And that's literally the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. She told him what had happened. She just started screaming. The scream of a mom losing her child. That's a sound I never want to hear again. It was horrible. And I just, I don't know, it was all kind of such a blur. We just started calling people that we knew, and oh my God, it was so touching. Just people were there immediately by our sides, asking what they could do for us. That is such love. I'll never forget that. And I don't know, it was all such a blur. After that, I had a debate, whether or not I wanted to speak at the funeral. And, I did. I knew I'd always regret it if I didn't. I wrote out my speech, and I remember standing up at the funeral with the paper in my hand, reading it, trying to get through it, shaking, and I have it on my computer, but I haven't read it since the day of the funeral. I don't know why. If I just don't want to relive it, or if I'm gonna wish I had said something different looking back on it. I don't know, but I just haven't read it. And God, just the aftermath. You go. They talk about the grieving process, like you're sad, and then you're angry, and then you accept it. And I don't know, I guess I've never really gotten angry about it, but the closest I've gotten to it was wondering, like, was it worth it, Dad, to get your little thrill? Was it worth taking that risk and abandoning your family? But I'm not angry at him. But I think, I don't know, it's so strange to describe, but my mom and I talk about it. He's always too big for this world. Like, he's always too big for it. And of course, I'm sad that it happened. It's horrible. It's a horrible thing. But I've come to accept it. For sure. It's almost like, I don't know, at least there's something finite about it. But at the same time, it's really different to, like, miss someone, but you're gonna see him again. But it's a different type of missing someone. When you're just gonna have to miss them forever, and that there's not much you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, that's just gonna have to miss him. And, you know, in some ways I was lucky that it happened when I was young, because I have this perfect picture of him in my head. He was my hero, he's my dad, he's perfect. And literally no one I've known has ever had a bad word to say about him. He was such a good man, such a gentleman. But that's one thing that I will be sad about is, you know, I knew him as my dad, but I never had the chance to know him as a man, adult to adult. And it's hard. I know I don't have like daddy issues or any, whatever you want to call that, but you know, he made a good life for himself. He was a good man. He didn't come from much, and he put himself through college as a motorcycle mechanic, and some days he could only go to class when he could fill up his tank just so he could go get a free meal at the cafeteria so he could eat. You know, he was a good man, and I will never get to know who he was as a man. I knew him as my dad, but not as a man, not as, you know, adult to adult. And I just, you know, I'm in my 20s, and I just made the biggest decision of my life to pack up from home and leave all my comforts and friends and move out to Los Angeles to pursue my dreams. And I'd love to know what he'd have to say about that, and any advice that he'd give, and all the support that I'm sure he would give. And you know, I'll never get that. It's a bummer. But backtracking a little bit, back to 2007, we you know, talking back about MotoGP, that was our thing. And it was June 2007, and we were going to go to our first MotoGP race together, all of us, that next month in July, out in California, Laguna Seca. And my mom and I, you know, we were like, should we go? Like, do we still go? Do we do that? And we were like, of course we should go. Of course. He would be so ashamed if we missed out on that. So we decided to go. We went that year, and it was a pretty perfect ending from my dad. I would like to thank the great MotoGP rider Colin Edwards. We had my dad's ashes with us, and we somehow got to talk to Colin, and we told him our story, and he, what a man. He took my dad's, like a little pouch of my dad's ashes, and he put it in his leathers, and he took it around the track when he was warming up. And so my dad got to go for a final motorcycle ride, and on like the pinnacle of all motorcycles, a MotoGP bike. So I'm so glad we went. I'm so glad we went. And that next year we were like, of course we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back in 2008. And in that year in high school, I think I guess it was either my junior year. We had to do this big research paper for our AP English class, and we could write about whatever we wanted to. Everybody was picking these scientific and like political, studious topics, and I was like, you know what? Damn it, I'm gonna write about what I want. And we could write about whatever we wanted as long as we made an argument. And I was like, I'm gonna write about MotoGP, and my argument is gonna be why Valentino Rossi is the best motorcycle racer of all time. That's what I wrote about. And I went and I got all my facts straight and went through the history of MotoGP and wrote this awesome paper, and thank God I got an A on it. Dr. McNair, she appreciated that I at least, did a different topic. So I got an A on the paper, and I had this crazy thought that maybe somehow I could get Valentino a copy of it to keep, just in case he wanted to read my school paper. But so we went out that July back to Laguna Seca for the second time, just my mom and I, and we were walking around the paddock, and I saw Valentino's team manager. I was like, Mom, like, this is a team manager. Like, if there's anybody that's close to him, it's him, Mr. Davide Brivio. And I got stage fright and froze up so hard. So thanks, Mom, for going and chasing down Mr. Brivio. And I'm sure he thought we were insane, but we got to talking, and he was such a nice guy. And we told him our story and that I had written this paper, and he thought that was the coolest thing in the world. He's like, you know what? Yes. And this is all in a heavy Italian accent, but he's like, you know what? Come back tomorrow right here, 2 o'clock, and I'll see what I can do for you. And came back the next day, and I got to go in the Yamaha team tent, have lunch, and I got to meet Valentino and give him a copy of my school paper. And I'm sure, he's Italian, he understands English pretty well. I'm sure I came up to him with like this set of thick papers. He probably thought he was like being subpoenaed or something, but I think we communicated, like, we got the point across. Thanks again, Mom, for going after Valentino, because I froze up so hard, but I did. I got to meet my hero, and it still is the greatest moment of my life. We have the best picture ever. We took a picture like this, and he squeezed me so tight, and it was just so cool. He's such a stand-up guy. And so I guess that what I'm trying to say here is that even when it's the darkest, keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and choose happiness, because I promise you there is a silver lining if you look for it. And it's not about the challenges you face in life, it's how you respond to them. And choose the light. I promise you, there's a silver lining there if you look for it. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on this life, because you never know what tomorrow's gonna bring. You never know who you can meet, what could happen. And along with the theme of tomorrow, my dad, I can say in full confidence that he lived his life fully. He was not afraid. He was not afraid. I remember him saying, like, I asked him, I was like, are you afraid of death? And he's like, no. The only thing I would be sad about is if that would mean that I'd have to leave your mom and you. But no, he wasn't afraid. He lived life so fully. But Live it fully. That crazy dream that you want to chase it. Do it now. What does it mean to be ready? Like, are you really ever going to be ready for anything? Don't be scared. Just go for it. Love hard. Love fiercely. Tell people that you love them. Don't go to bed angry because you think tomorrow is guaranteed, but it's not. So do it now. Love hard. And my dad, he only ever gave me 2 pieces of advice, and I'd like to share them with you. That's what these 2 pieces of advice are my life motto. And he said, do the right thing and have fun. So Dave P. from Rock and I tell you, do the right thing and have fun. I am Jack Bragg.
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 14岁了我是 Jack Bragg。